So good afternoon once again, and welcome to day 7 of the ERP Cloud Bootcamp. This is the review session. Now, today we're going to start building the what I'll call the minimum viable product. So today we're going to be looking at some config documents. We're going to be building, starting up with GL. So today and tomorrow, in terms of what we'll be looking at, the rapid implementation spreadsheets, and also we'll be loading some reference data as well. We'll probably be loading up a lot of GL stuff today, and ES and GL. And then tomorrow we'll look at payables and receivables. In terms of the flow, we're actually in this step of the flow, looking at the continuous cycle of building our product. When I say our product, I'm talking about the implementation itself. And in terms of the core tasks, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to look at the config docs. Now, as part of this, you'll have the setups. This will include interfaces and also the technical build of the solution. And you would normally have an iteration of multiple workshops. So we'll have a lot of workshops to validate the things that you have built. So that's basically the way in which it's done. Now, I'm going to start off by looking at the enterprise structure once again. And if you remember, we went through the core flow of the enterprise structure. We looked at the organization structure as well. We looked at, and then the financial structure as well. So in terms of the core of what we'll be doing, we'll be looking more at the bottom part of this flow, and also some parts of this top bit as well. So we'll be going through all of this within the next couple of days. Now, and in that process, we'll develop, we'll refine, we'll continue to build. And then normally on the project, you'll have a list of tasks that you'd want to do, and also if there's any blockers, and then you kind of have daily tasks that you'll be doing. So it's more or less a daily scrum. It's a method which is used to implement. So it's just daily meetings, very short meetings. Sometimes they're called stand-ups. You stand up, you meet at a place, you have a post-it note, you write the things that you need to do for that day, you stick it on the board. It's actually called a Kanban board. And then you go off, and then you build, you validate as you're going on. And the validation is really more or less a test. So you're doing your initial unit test, and then you're doing your reviews with the business at the same time using the data that you've collected, and then you update, and then you continue that cycle as many times as you can. So you can pick a small part of the application. So let's say, for example, you've loaded your ES, you've loaded your GL, you then start to take the business through maybe some of the GL reports, and you start to go into a bit more detail as to the contents of the report, validating that against what they do currently, and so on. The same thing with your AP and AR process. It could be you're validating some of the core areas. It could be the approvals, it could be the accounting, and so on. So that's basically what we'll be doing over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Sorry, no, sorry, 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 days. So, and also into next week as well. Early next week, we'll also continue with this and more on the integration aspect of this build. So in terms of the build, this includes your functional setup, which is your config docs. You've got your rapid implementation spreadsheets that you would use for that purpose. You've also got your accounting flow that we looked at. And then you've also got your technical build, which will include your interfaces, includes methods of loading data using the FBDI loader, which is a series of spreadsheets that Oracle provide that enables us to load data into the application. And you'll be looking at other areas like approvals, your accounting derivation. You'll be looking at other data objects like your suppliers, your customers, your journals, your invoices, and looking at how these are loaded into the application. So in terms of the development cycle, start up with a functional flow, creating invoices to GL, payment and receipts to GL. So that's the functional flow of what we'll be looking at. So in terms of the technical flow, we'll be looking at the integration, inbound, outbound, as I mentioned, suppliers, customers, reporting, approvals, subledger accounting, reconciliations, payments, receipts, and also the data. So there's a lot of stuff that I'll be going through over the next week or so. So let's start off with the rapid implementation part of the develop phase. As I mentioned, I think it was yesterday, that there are certain elements of the accounting that you need to get right, and also the structure of your chart of accounts. This is very, very important before you start to load any data for your rapid implementation. And the moment you get this done correctly, you find out that it's very, very easy to continue with the implementation. So the first thing is to get the enterprise structure right. And in most cases, it doesn't actually change that much. So, and this is one of the areas where you can very quickly sign off with the business that as per the structure of the organization, this is what it's going to look like. Remember that here we are trying to mirror the legal structure of the business and to map this to the accounting requirements, and also looking at things like maybe it's the GAAP, maybe it's general accounting standards, whether they have units of business that does certain things on behalf of other areas, where you can start to look at how to create your business units and so on. So that's the cost structure. Now, there are two main types of users that we'll be looking at. One are the who are called the application users, that's the business users, and you have the implementation users. There are certain roles which needs to be added to those users. Now, just very briefly, I've just got this slide here just to show you an example. So there are certain roles that you would need for your user to be able to do certain things. So for example, you've got the IT security manager, you've got the application implementation consultant, which gives you access to perform a lot of the implementation tasks. You've got the employee, which identifies the person as employee. So when you create an implementation user, you can just go into Security Console, create a user, set the password, add the roles, and boom, you're ready to go. And then you can then go on and create employees later on once you've created your users. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by creating a new user. And in our new environment, I'll send the details of the environment earlier on. I will put it again into the community area for all to see. But then I'm going to start off by doing that. I'm going to go into my config workbooks area, but first of all, before doing that, I'll go into the rapid implementation spreadsheet. We'll download the spreadsheet. I'll show you an example of the data, and then we'll kick off with this today. So let's go into the application. So this is me already logged in, and I'm going to go into the Security Console. I logged into the environment earlier on, and I discovered that it's a little bit slow. So I may need to run some what I call session warmers, just to make sure that certain things are run to make it run a lot faster. It's still trying to think about how to get into the Security Console page. So I'm logged in as Fin IMPL, which is an implementation user. This is more or less a generic user that Oracle will give you. So once you start off the implementation, they'll give you a generic user that would have access to a lot of things, mainly for an implementation purpose. So you go to Tools and you select Security Console. You're able to, from here, create a user. So I'm going to create a user, and I'm just going to assign some of the roles that I've just mentioned to my user. Now, let's just go in. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. So users, and add user account. And first name Seth, last name Upman. And let's enter the email. Now, when you're using this environment, I would suggest that don't enter any personally identifiable data. So don't use your real username, your real email and so on. There are other people using this environment, and you never know what, the access and who else has access to this. So, so I'm just creating my user. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some roles to my user. First is the IT security, and always use the one that has the ORA as a prefix. And that's because Oracle changed the security model. It's been about 5 years ago, and the old roles have always been there. So let's add another role, which is the application. Wow, it's implementation is very, very slow. Application implementation consultant, again, ORA. Let's add this role. I'm going to add another one called the integration specialist. So adding my integration specialist mainly for my integration aspect. This is loading users, for example, in bulk. Then I'm going to add my human resource specialist. Really slow. Human resource specialist. Okay. And I'm going to add line manager for approvals. Again, this is one of those abstract roles. Line manager is an abstract role. So I've just added some roles, created my user, save and close, and I'm going to log in as my new user. Now, whilst we're waiting for this to complete, what I'm going to do, which I started with yesterday, was to show you some of the I think I was showing you some of the data that you'll be working with. So let's go to the bootcamp. And we're now in day 7. So there's a lot of stuff that I've got here, how to create a user, adding roles. Some of them have videos, and then you've got example of how to do all this. So this is an example of the rapid implementation spreadsheet that we'll be using. And also, I think I need to give you access to the config docs. So that's basically what I need to do, right? So I will change that page so that on the assignment page, you'll have access to the config workbooks. So in the config workbooks, I'm going to take finance as an example, pretty much all similar. Now, what you'll have is all the different attributes that are required to build your config. So for example, your accounting calendars, conversion rate types, list of your primary ledgers, GL options. So all of these are examples. And in addition to that, you have your chart of accounts hierarchies, your system accounts, COA structures, and also your structure instances now, and also things like your value sets and so on. Now, a lot of these, you don't actually need to start your implementation by writing all of them. Now, the order should actually be you write your config docs, you go into the application, and then you start to build. That's the starts. That's normally what should happen. But what generally tends to happen is that you will build using something called a rapid implementation spreadsheet. So I'm going to show you how to get to that. Let me just go back to the environment. Safari. Right, user as created. So let's go back in as a user, and then we'll go into looking at the details. So details of how to get the rapid implementation spreadsheet. So I'm going to log in as my user. Save the password. Okay, anytime if you get anything like that, just go back in, delete the bits at the end, and log back in again. So this is an example of the rapid implementation spreadsheet that you will be using. Once this opens, I'll show you how to download that file. So while that's trying to open, let me go into this file just to, because it does take time to load, and I want us to actually load GL today, but I just want to show you the example. Let's wait for this to load. Right, so the file itself looks like this. You would have name, which is the name of your ledger, currency. Now, if no currency is selected, it will use the countries that you have in your companies and legal entities. So whatever countries that you have here, it will pick up the currency and use that to determine the currencies of your ledger. Period, adjusting period, and also your start year. So can you enter all of that information? Structure of your chart of accounts. So again, all these are part of the information you get from a questionnaire. So they will tell you the frequency of the calendar, whether it's monthly, whether they have adjusting periods, and the start date of their year. So they will tell you, they will give you all this information. Based upon the workshops that you have, you will also be able to build a structure for your chart of accounts. The length of the width based upon the expansion that we talked about yesterday. And then business units based upon, again, the sessions you've had, then you'll be able to identify how many BUs you need, and then the default legal entity name for each of those business units. In structure of the companies, remember this will go into your BSV, and also details of the address and any registration number, company registration number details, you put them in here. And then the details of your natural account structure. Now, key things to note, you've got the account type. Again, I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but let's just, so this is I'm coming back to this, but let's just check to see if this is ready. Right, so that's ready. Let's go in and look at how to download this file that I'm talking about. So go into your user icon, select setup and maintenance. Still very slow. I need to run the session warmers, which will actually make it run a little bit faster. Right, so this is the setup and maintenance area. And this is where you would normally start to do your setups. You have, depending on the area that you have access to, you'll be able to see all the different areas. Now, I've logged in more like a super user when I've given myself IT security manager, application implementation consultant. That would generally give me all the different areas that are enabled. So first, let's go into financials. And so these are the functional areas within financials that you can access when you do your setups. You got your enterprise profile, legal structures, financial reporting structures, GL. If you just bear with me a moment, there's somebody at my door and I need to open the door because I have a slight emergency, just a moment. Right. So yeah, where was I? So I need to, so let's go through this. The organization structures, you have your BUs, this is where you access all the BUs details. But first of all, let's look at how to actually download the template. So we're in the area called financial reporting structures, and we have all the different tasks that we can that we get access to. So if you go, these ones that you have here are the required tasks. So what you would need to do is select the all task. If you select all task, you then want to select your manage chart of accounts configuration. This is actually new. It came out, I think, about a year ago. So if you select manage chart of accounts configurations, what would happen is that it would open up a page which will allow you to download the spreadsheet that you can use to then create this file that we have here. So I'm going to download the template. This is the setup template. So if I click on download, and it will just download the Excel file. Let's go into downloads area. So that's the file here. If I open this file, this is the Excel spreadsheet. Now, what I would need you to do when you download this file is to read through the details that you have here, because this is all you need to know in terms of knowing how to actually use the file and upload it. It's a lot of information here, but we'll try as much as possible and cover as much as we can. Now, what you've got is in each of the tabs, you have all the different areas which are similar to the spreadsheet that I have open. This is the spreadsheet that I have open here. So this is the one I've created, but this is the blank spreadsheet. Now, what Oracle have done is they've given sample data file. So you can open the sample data file. And again, you need to enable macros, and you can have a look at the sample data files. So what Oracle are proposing is that you build this file, you look at certain areas, your line of business, your cost center, and so on. So once you build this file, you then press a button which allows you to generate your you first of all validate it first, and then you generate your chart of accounts file, and then your ledger, and then your BU. So you have all of this. Now, what I would need to do is show you how to actually load this, and then we'll come back whilst it's loading, and then I'll show you some of the details of this file, especially in the natural accounts, because there's a few information on the right-hand side here that will enable you to determine certain defaults that will help you to run reports automatically. A lot of the setup components are all driven from the information that you have here. So let's get this started. So first, put in all the details. Let's validate it first. So it's validated. Let's then generate our sample chart of accounts file. And I'm going to put this in my enterprise structure 23A. So I'm just going to call this underscore 23A. So that would generate a CSV file. Well, it's actually, I think it's an XML file. Generate an XML file. So let's go back into the folder. So that's the file here. So that's the file we're going to load. And then for the GL legal entities, again, that zip file has some XML files inside of it. So that's done. So once you've done that, you come back to this page and you click on upload setup file. So now I'm going to attach the zip file, which I've just downloaded. So let's go into enterprise structure. The first one you want to load is the chart of accounts. And that will start the process of creating the chart of account structure. So that's been submitted. At the bottom of the page, you can open the process monitor and view the progress of the upload. So let's see how that's going. Nothing to display yet. Still thinking about it. There we go. So it started. So the first one should not take that long. It's the second one that actually takes a longer time. So it's uploading enterprise structures and hierarchies. Now, while this is going on, let me just explain a few things about this file. Now, when you're building this file, after you've had your sessions with the business concerning the structure, what should be the business units, it's going to use this for its BSV values based upon what you have here anyway. So this would be the BSV values, but this would be the business units that we would use. And these are the default legal entity names. These names have to be the same as what you have in your names here. Otherwise, you'll have an error. Again, you can always go back and fix them. So if I do something like that, and I go into here to validate, it will tell me that the legal entity name is not valid. And it also checks this with the intercompany, the legal entity name intercompany segment as well. So, and it's giving me an indication of where the issue can be. So you can use this to validate your data. Now, what I've done in this spreadsheet is I've got a lot of, like my identifier is a random number. So this spreadsheet, which you can use, but to use it, I've got it for Acme. If you want to create your own, you need to go to, I think is review, you unprotect the worksheet, and then you do find and replace. So I'm saying anything which is Acme, assuming your company name is IBM. Let's just use IBMA because we don't want IBM to come in and say that we're using their data. So assuming your company is called IBMA, you just do replace all, but select workbook. That's going to look at all the different tabs as well, and then select replace all. Okay, I don't want to do match case. Let's try this again, and not the entire cells. Let's do this. So it's made 34 replacements. So what this has done is has kind of helped you to create your data very quickly. IBM a ledger, and then you can just click on validate, generate your chart of accounts, and so on. Natural accounts. Yes. After you've built your structure, you need to determine what the account type will be: asset, liability, revenue, expense, owner's equity. But then look at the structure. Assets, anything starting with a 1 is an asset. With a 2, liability. So you can start to see how that's going to build your net assets figure, how this kind of maps into the structure of your accounts. As you go down, you see your share owner's equity. So that's your balance sheet sorted at the top there. And then you come to your revenue, which is your income. Again, split into different areas: cost of sales. Bringing this down into your expenses. Expenses, you see the structure of your expenses, and so on. So this follows the structure of your accounts, either your financial accounts or the accounts that you would need for your management reports. Now, on this additional columns, you have opportunity to automatically derive what the values would be for some of your accounting. So for example, cash. So this would be used for your setup in your cash account, in your setups, in cash management, and also in bank. Cash clearing. So that would be used as a default cash clearing account. Receivables, intercompany receivables. Again, once we finish the setup, I'll come back to this page and show you these different values that you have here. Where you can see for each of these asset types, there are subtypes as well, which you can use. The first one here is used for your setup. The second one is used mainly for your reporting. So when you want to report the OTBI, which is well, I'll talk about that much later. We'll look at these details. So the point of this is that when you're going through this with a business, you need to start to ask them that, which is your default asset clearing account, for example? What's your default AP liability account that you're going to be using in payables? Remember the Excel that we were looking at yesterday for account derivation? This will link back to this. Yeah, this is where you would then set those values for each of the different default values that you would need for your setup. Owner's equity. So basically what I'm giving you here is a template that will enable you to go into a workshop and get similar type of accounts from your potential clients or customers or people that you're going to be working with. So you do this for each of, this is only applicable to the account segment, but for each of the different segments, you need to go in, look at the structure, cost center segment. Again, the structure, they will give you all this, and then it needs to be in a certain structure, again, for reporting purposes. And then you got your intercompany segment. And then if there's anything in your spare, you got your spare segment. So that's the structure. Let's see if our account structure is finished. Let's have a look. Let's see. Okay, it's still running. This is going to take a while. Wow. Usually, both of these will, in some cases, take almost 35, 40 minutes, may even be an hour, to run through all of this. Now, whilst these are running, let me just mention a few things on this. So you have the config workbooks, which we've looked at. And I also want to talk about the config workbooks for the enterprise structure. So let's have a look at the enterprise structure config workbook. This is the ES. So again, a lot of the setup for that, for the enterprise structure is already part of your standard rapid implementation spreadsheet. So all you're doing here is adding things like, okay, what are the default currencies they're going to be using? What is the legal address? What are the legal addresses? Again, all this will go into the spreadsheet. Locations, again, that goes into the spreadsheet. Legal jurisdictions. So again, I'll come back into showing you how that's set up. We've got the enterprise sets, any HCM information. Again, all these, you can always come back and load this back in again. So remember that the first round of your MVP, you don't need to go in and set all and put all this data in. You're loading your rapid implementation spreadsheet. Once you now go back to the business, that's when you now start to confirm some of these details, because you can always go in and amend some of these details once you've set them up. But then you use the rapid implementation for your initial setup and also for your initial validation. So that's basically what you would normally use your rapid implementation spreadsheet for. Now, config workbooks, again, we'll look at some of the other config workbooks tomorrow, but then let me just mention a few things. I think, yeah, we've talked about the rapid implementation, config workbook, initial setups. Okay, so let's go back and see where we are with our load. Let's see where we are with our load. Let's see whether it's finished. System performance is still to be questioned. Wow, this is taking a lot longer than I thought. Okay, now once you've done the first one, you then go in and load your second one, but you need to check a few things before you continue the load. And one of the things you need to check is the, let's go back to setup and maintenance. I want to show you one thing you need to check before you continue your load. Select your financials. And then yeah, okay, let's go first into organization structures. So you need to check the creation of your business unit. That's after you've loaded the two. In your GL, you need to go back and check your ledgers, because this will be created for you. Financial reporting structures. Here you can check your chart of account structures. Actually, the first thing you need to check is your chart of account structures, just to make sure that that's actually created. It's not finished yet as per the setup, but you need to wait for the program to finish running. And then you need to find that there should be a green tick here. So let's go to manage structures just to see if it's created our Acme COA structure. So you can see that it's created an Acme ledger, but I wouldn't open it yet until I go back and check to make sure that everything is okay before I continue my load. And that's always a good sign when you see that it's done that first part. So let me go to my, wow, still loading. Manage chart of accounts configurations. I'm going to kick up the second one, hoping that it will complete before we finish at 6 o'clock. But let's check. So that's my Acme ledger. And okay, it seems to have finished. Okay, still running. I would definitely wait for this to finish running. You know, you don't really want to start another one if this is still running, otherwise it can mess up a number of things. There's a lot of processes running. Yeah, this is a new environment. Maybe there's indexing running. It should be faster in a few days, hopefully. Yeah. So whilst we wait for that, any questions? I can see that there's a few things popping up in the chat. Let's have a look. Right, when will the current environment expire? Very good question. I don't know. The short answer would be at least we should have it till the end of the month. That's as a minimum. It's provisioned by Oracle, and depending on, and not only that, they actually provision this environment to multiple clients at the same time, which is something that they do on a regular basis. But hold on, let me just, yeah. So there's a few bits and pieces that Oracle do on the environment, you know. So sometimes they decide that they want to refresh the environment, and they've done it before to us. We had an environment for 5 weeks, and in the middle with 3, they refreshed it without giving us a warning. So, but on this one has just been provisioned. So hopefully we should have it till the end of the course. Right, question here, could you recommend a book or website where I can learn a bit more about accountancy? I clearly understand technical part of the ERP, but want to better understand the meaning of a ledger, asset, liability, cash, debit. All right, okay, someone's put some information here. A lot of accounting courses on YouTube. Book will be Frank Wood, okay. Yeah, I remember that I actually, let me see what else I can do. I found a site somewhere where somebody was explaining accountancy in a very, very simple way. So if I can find that information, I'll put it out there for you. Yeah, but I would say that to understand the core ERP side of things, then if you have accounting knowledge, it will really help. But you don't have to be a core accountant to be able to implement, but the principles of what we're showing on this course will give you a big headway, you know, in terms of understanding the requirements from a business perspective. Yeah. When will the environment be ready for us to use? The environment is ready. I just see that there's a few bits. Normally Oracle run a few things on it for a few days, but hopefully we should be okay to carry on to use it. Right. Question, do we have to install ADFDI Excel plugin for the rapid implementation? No, you only need the ADFDI once you're uploading data from the spreadsheet, but for the rapid implementation, you don't need an ADFDI plugin. Yeah. Some jobs require a CPA license. Yes, it's possible. Some will say that you need, yeah, and that's because they expect you maybe to do a lot more on the business side of accounting. Then you would need to have accounting knowledge, definitely. In most cases, you're probably working alongside an accountant who's a BA, and then you as an implementation consultant would know the product and expect the BA to feed you with the information that you need. But the templates are very similar to what I've just given to you. The directions are very similar, and that will help the BA in performing their duties. But if you have an accounting knowledge, it will help you tremendously to excel in this as a functional ERP cloud consultant, definitely.
Can I ask a quick question, Yobi?
Yeah.
where you showed all the assets, liabilities, would the business normally put that data in there and you sort of rely on what they've said or stated?
Yes. Now, you would need their guidance. Most companies would already have an accounting structure similar to something like this. But in terms of classifying the type, you would definitely need their guidance. You may need them to tidy up this structure so that it will help them to be able to use it for reporting much later. But
right.
Yeah, you work with them to find out. I mean, when you ask questions like, what's the cash clearing account, then you have the information there that tells you what it's used for. Temporary account used to record cash related transactions before they're cleared. So these are just examples that will help you when you're going through these workshops.
So literally, have you given them this spreadsheet and they've come back with the update of what you can see there as an example?
Correct.
With
Yes.
their own classification.
Yes.
And then if you've got a bit of accounting knowledge, you might notice that they classified something wrongly. Then you go back to them and say, this isn't a liability or whatever.
Exactly. Now, if you look at the original configuration questionnaires in the finance aspect, for example, now if you go to so this information here is basically the same information that you're putting into your rapid implementation spreadsheets.
Right.
Yeah, it's exactly the same information. They will give you this information.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, and this is part of the questionnaire. It's deliberately designed this way so that you rely on the business to give you this information. You as a consultant is helping them to load it in. That's basically what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay. One last question. Where you click to upload, are you, with that one process, are you uploading all the different tabs on that spreadsheet?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah. Yeah. All those tabs is going to be loaded with the, trying to find out where that is. Okay. Yeah. All those tabs will be loaded. All the information. I should be able to show that to you tomorrow.
Right.
Once this is finished running. I was hoping to show you some of it. So the structure, let me just see if, wow, it's a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's still loading. So that is still.
Thank you for that. I just don't want to take up everyone's time, but thank you.
No, that's fine. The relevant questions, and I'm sure people are also.
I'm conscious of if I ask a stupid question.
You know what, Tony? What I said was such as a stupid question, because someone is probably thinking about the same thing as well.
That's good to know. All right, thank you.
No, that's fine. Cheers. Yeah, David.
Yeah, I want to ask, so because the environment is kind of slow at the moment, can we still go ahead, or should we wait until it's a bit quicker before we start inputting our upload?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Maybe later on in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's pretty fresh. It's only, I can see that there's a lot of indexing being done. When I see this on an environment, that tells me that there's still some database thingy still going on.
Okay.
It's quite a lot of this, so yeah, I only got this environment earlier on today. So
all right, okay. Yeah, and the other question is, using the implementation spreadsheet, if, for example, with this seeded data, assuming that, okay, this is what we've gotten from the business. If we change the name of the companies, that kind of thing, we can still just use the example of data you've given, even though understanding that in real life, you would have to make changes and all that kind of stuff. Is that the
you mentioned changing the name of the companies. So there are certain changes you can make. Some of them are unforgivable. So
okay, can you give an example? Like,
well, if you Well, there's a quite. I need to show you in the application, because
Okay.
you can change the enterprise name, but when you now go in and change some of the legal entity attributes, some of those, once you've done it, you cannot go back. Once you've assigned it to start to transact, then it's difficult. Some things like the structure of your chart of accounts, you discover that you need more space in your chart of accounts. So for example, you've got 4 here. You now decide that you want to change this to 5. You cannot go back and do that once you start to generate certain things. So it becomes a lot more difficult to make some changes. Some of them are irreversible. Once you've done it, you can't go back.
Okay. Yeah. Oyemi, can I ask a question? On that page, on the screen, the display width, is that how many different segments you can have, or characters?
So CO company display width for company segment is 4. So that means that I've got 4 characters in my company segment.
Oh, okay.
3001 is 4 characters.
Okay.
So that's basically what that is. Yeah.
Okay. So for practice, is there like a particular minimum width that you need to have?
No. It depends on the company. I've been on site before where some companies have 2.
Okay.
But that tells me that they're limited to 100 values in that segment, from 00 to 99. That's if they've selected that as numeric only. If they've got alphanumeric, then they can still have A to Z, combinations in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
One quick question, where it says name, where you're pointing, IBM A Ledger, are we creating, like, do I put my name on that so that I know that this ledger belongs to me, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all really making individual ledgers.
Correct.
That if you spoke to myself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, everyone's going to be different,
Right.
so that you can identify that. And
right.
If I go to the exercise for today, day 7, the assignment. So you're going to create an implementation user, assign roles, just as I've done. You're going to create your set of spreadsheets, upload your chart of accounts. You're going to review your basic setup, which creating your employee user, assigning roles to user, opening the first period. Now, if you watch this video, why is that 39 minutes? I'm not sure why that is. Something's not quite right in this video then. So this video will show you how to do a lot of this. Actually, I've just observed that doesn't look quite right. Now, there is a video in the starter course that let's go into the starter course that you can use. So this part here, rapid setup and use GL. So maybe what I would do is point you to this video. So this shows you exactly the same thing that you need to do today. So takes you through all of
manage.
So let's start by looking at the structure. Sorry, is someone asking a question?
Yeah, I was asking, like, we have this new interface now, manage chart of accounts configuration.
Yes.
I think the steps are slightly different, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the steps are slightly different, but you could still use either. The old method is still there. Yeah, it's still there. The old method, I mean, it still works. It's just a little bit longer, in terms of, and here you have everything on one page. So I prefer to use the new screen. I prefer to use this screen.
In the new screen, if we click deploy all chart of accounts, that would deploy for all the ledgers, right? Or just mine?
What you mean, this bit here?
Yes.
Oh no, don't press that. That will deploy everything that's here. So that's the deploy. But if you press this in the middle of doing this, then you could break certain things. That's the deploy in the actual, okay. So this deploy here refers to, I'm going to show you. So when you go to your chart of account structures, that's the same thing as pressing deploy flex field here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what that does. Yeah. But if you have something going on and you press that, it could break what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's why I always say that it's easier to use.
And what's the difference between having chart of account structure instances and different ledger?
Right. Okay. So we did talk about it, but let me just show you. When we looked at this slide, you can have a chart of account and you can have a chart of account structure instance. So you can have the structure, which is as you have, but the structure instance could have different values inside of them, but still using this structure that you have. So a good example, let's look at structures, structure instances. It's a good question because a lot of people, is more of a design part, because if you look at, let's go to structure instances of this. So I could have a structure with multiple instances. So all of these are, so you got CA, chart of accounts, CN, chart of accounts, they are of corporate and countries structure. So they have the same structure, but different chart of accounts. So basically what we're saying is that this structure is the same. The data inside of it, cost center might be different by country. Yeah, accounting, natural accounts might be different for different countries and so on. But you cannot use this rapid implementation spreadsheet to build that. That needs to be done manually.
Okay. So after we built with using the rapid implementation spreadsheet, that we can go and start creating more.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Because you've got the structure already. You can then start to build it onto. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
But again, it's more of a design thing. Now, before you can do that, I mean, Oracle have used a good example of where you can have different countries using the same structure, but with different data. And that happens a lot. So in the very early implementations, you didn't have that functionality. It was always a one-to-one. The structure instance was there, but you couldn't create multiple structures. So you couldn't create multiple chart of accounts from the same structure in the very early days. But you had this there, but you couldn't do it. It was always just one-to-one. Yeah. Okay. Dairo, yeah.
Okay, good evening. I've actually asked my question all the while, but you weren't looking at it. So
I'm so sorry.
No problem. So for
okay, yeah, I can see it now. Sorry.
For journal line description,
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying journal import, journal created or something. So, but in EBS, there's a way you can define your journal line description, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that functionality available on Fusion?
So, okay, when we get to subledgers, I will show you how to change that, because that is part of the subledger accounting. So you can change the journal, instead of saying just journal imports and then give it a description, when it comes from the subledgers, you can change that description.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's for number 2 question is, can we load same chart of account like Acme Acme, for example, this the exercise that we are going to do, I'm sure most of us are going to be using same file, same Excel that is on that assignment.
Yeah.
So can multiple people load same Acme?
No. So that's why I said that you need to change it. If you remember, what I said was that you go in, use a search and replace, and you change it. And I use an example of IBM A. Yeah. So before you search and replace, you unprotect the spreadsheet, and then you replace everything to your own.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Otherwise, it would fail. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yemi, could you demonstrate that again, please? If you want to
So Control F to find, and then so on the original one, it will be Acme. So let me go to, so here, let's go to, so Control F. So let's replace IBM A, and I just want to say ACMB, for example. So make sure you select workbook, otherwise you only do it for the spreadsheet. So now, but one thing first thing you need to do is you need to unprotect the spreadsheet before you do it. And remember that it will be, you uncheck match case, you uncheck match entire cell contents, and you select workbook, and you do replace all. And that's done 34 replacements. And that will also change this identifier, because I've used random numbers to generate this. It will change the address, and it will change name of the ledger and everywhere else. And you can actually load this as your own. Yeah.
We're doing the things based on the enterprise has got legal entities based in 3 countries, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right.
Yeah. So any more questions, Dairo?
Okay, yeah. I just want to chip this in. Maybe it will help. Because I've actually loaded these on the former environment.
Yeah. And
while doing that, the name also should not be too lengthy, because there's going to be, there's going to be a concatenation with the intercompany. That's the ledger name and the intercompany name.
Yeah.
So, and if the name is more than, I think, maybe 4, it's going to throw out error. So people can just watch out for that.
Yeah, so you use the short name, make it 4.
Exactly.
Yeah, make it 4, yeah. Thank you for that. That's also a good one, yeah. Not more than 4 characters. Any other questions before we close for today?
Hi. I remember you said you were going to provide the documents that tells us the differences between EBS.
EBs, yes. I still have it on my list, and I was trying to look for it last night, but I got sidetracked. That's my excuse. Yeah, but I have it on my list. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there a new link for the new environment or same one?
Yes, I sent it earlier on in the email, but I'll put it on the main page on the.
And the login details.
Yeah, and the login details. Yeah. You check your emails; it should be in the email.
All right.
Yeah, but I'll put it in the. Okay, that's still running. Wow, there's something. Okay, I'll check a few things on this environment. So maybe you just hold fire until maybe a few hours before you actually start to load. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Yemi, one question. You said to use the video from the starter course, isn't it? Towards the GL thing.
Yeah, that's just to that's for the explanations. But also what I just remembered as well is that in here, let's look at day 7. What I've just remembered is that I've actually got them split, create setup user, add roles to
There are
user,
times.
you know, and then you've got the kind of steps, rapid implementation spreadsheet. You know, I've got the steps here as well. Uploading the chart of accounts, verifying that it was successful. Again, uploading the legal entity, and then reviewing your legal. This is very, very important. Some of these are very, very important. There's no shortcuts to a lot of this stuff that we have here. There's a lot to go through, but you've got 2 days to do all of this stuff. Yeah. Now, some people want to do the cross validations. These ones are optional. You can verify your calendar, your currencies, your ledger as well. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions before we close for today?
Yeah, man. Sorry, just a quick question. Is there a contact number for you? I know we talked about it, but I couldn't find any.
Oh, okay. Okay. I will put it on my okay, I'll put it on the main page, but I just don't want people bombarding me with
Yeah, I know you said like WhatsApp.
yeah,
send you a
WhatsApp,
message
yeah.
when you've got time, but I couldn't find a number to contact you if I needed to, you see.
Okay, okay. Have you joined the WhatsApp group?
No,
Right, okay. So let me just okay, I will find your email and I will send it to you.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Thanks. Right. Any other questions before we close for today? No? Okay, so thank you very much and see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.